somebody's ass. I mean, that's why we're here.
That is caught! Left center! Reds win!
And this ball is launched. High and very deep to right, long gone. It's second of the night. Elly De La Cruz.
Short lead for Pena. Larkin drills it. Do you believe this? That's going to be gone! Back to back! Walk-off home runs! How about this? He's back! He's back! He's back!
And a swing and a drive! Deep left field! This one belongs to the Reds! Swung on and hit deep to left field! That ball is going to be gone! Home run! And the Reds put it 5-4!
Goes to second one. Around the first. Got a double play! And the Reds sweep the Cubs. Breaking ball. Hit high. Hit deep. Way back there. And gone! Into the second deck and left. Christian Encarnacion Strand walks it off.
Archer does it! In his major league debut! He gets the final 3 outs, and the Reds get an extra inning win. A thriller 5-4.
Swung on, fly ball, hit the deep right field. That ball is going to be gone. A grand slam home run by Mike Cameron.
2 outs, 2 on. Reds down by 1. Larkin down the line. It's a winning. It's a winning. Here comes Tucker. Here comes Steins. Larkin's won the game. Barry Larkin gets mobbed. Look at this scene. It's synergy.
The stretch, the pause and the pitch. And a line drive, base hit left center field. A single for Aaron Boone. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won 8 in a row.
Kobayashi with a long look turns it loose, and Dunn hits it to deep right. It's all over. And this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won their 5th game in a row. They've defeated the Cleveland Indians on an Adam Dunn 3-run home run, 4-2. In on the corners at first and third. 2 on, nobody out. Here's Royce Ring pitching, no bunt. Ground ball by the third baseman into left field. Jay Bruce rounds third. This one belongs to the Reds.
That's it pretty good. Guess what? He doesn't need speed. That's gone. He's the king of the Queen City tonight.
With 1 out here in the 11th inning, you sure got to go now.
One out, pull down the left field line. That ball is going to get the winning run in. Here comes Jay Bruce rounding third, heading toward the plate. And this one belongs to the Reds.
Huge situation for Votto. Why you paying the big bucks to deliver the goods with 2 outs in the 9th inning? Can he do it? In the gap right center field, and Votto delivers the goods.
Hit deep center field. Hank Hill going back at the warning track. Oh, he gave one. It's gone. Joey Votto is delivered.
Hey everyone, good afternoon, and who's ready for some Reds Braves tonight? Alex Wallace here with our guest David Greer. David, it's nice to have you. I did reach out to John Smoltz. He wasn't available. I reached out to Chipper Jones. He wasn't available. So I decided, you know what? What about my buddy David, who hails from the great state of Georgia? David, thanks again for joining us.
It's good to be here, Alex. I'm excited to talk shop.
Yeah, and, after last night's game, we all watched it, I'm sure. Not much to talk about from the Reds' point of view, so I'm glad you're here to help us get through at least the first portion and then preview the rest of the series, starting with tonight. So give us a little bit of this Smith-Shawver. The last time we saw him, Elly hit a cycle or started the cycle off him, and the Reds put up like 12 runs 2 years ago. What's the story with Smith-Shawver, and where did this come from?
Yeah, so Smith-Shawver has been up and down ever since he made his debut. He just goes he comes in, pitches when we need him to, and then he goes back down to AAA and does a couple starts down there. But this was honestly the best outing we've really ever seen from him. Going 8 innings, even with a couple of walks he gave up, he was throwing what he needed to throw. I was really excited to see all of that.
So from the Braves Twitter, Braves X, Braves Radio, everyone's pretty impressed with Smith-Shawver from last night.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody really saw that coming, but it's been great to see.
Well, that's good for you. Obviously great for Braves fans. The Reds obviously not the most dynamic offense. So Hope for you all, he continues to pitch well. Now, I know the big event for the Reds fans last night was unfortunately Tyler Callahan breaking his forearm against the wall. And then obviously some roster moves we'll touch on later in the show. But what was the feeling down in Atlanta with that? I know you and I exchanged some text messages about it. Obviously differing opinions, but what was everyone's thought on that? Obviously such a sad moment.
Everybody in Braves country really hated to see the injury. We don't want to see players get injured. It certainly wasn't our thing. I did not appreciate some of the Reds fans going on Twitter saying it's Matt Olson's fault. He didn't do anything, and the play continued, and that's what they're supposed to do, is to continue running. So I don't think it's Matt Olson's fault. It's not Tyler Callahan's fault either. The wall shouldn't have been there, if you ask me.
Absolutely. You and I actually have been to a game down at, is it still SunTrust Park?
It is Truist.
Truist. I apologize.
The merge.
SunTrust. Truist Park. It was Truist when I went. I don't know what I'm talking about. If you guys haven't been there, Truist is a fantastic ballpark, but it is squeezed into a little area. Not to say that's the reason for the small foul lines, or foul territory, but fantastic ballpark. I'm sure everyone's heard the Battery, but we'll get back to the game. It wouldn't have mattered though, David. The Reds had one hit. As you were texting me last night, Smith Shawver did his job, and the Reds weren't going to get a hit, get much more than a hit last night. That's what we've been talking about, Reds fans up here, is if the Reds aren't scoring in the first few innings, no later than the fourth, they're not going to score. So it's been a tough road for the Reds offense the last week plus, after really that road trip that ended in Colorado. So let me take a moment though, real quick. Let me cover the call-ups and the replacement. So Zuleta was put down to AAA, and obviously Callahan to the IL. Have seen reports from Charlie Goldsmith of the Dayton Daily News that he'll be out about 6 to 8 weeks with no baseball activities. So there's a possibility he's back. Who knows what the season will hold. Hopefully he can get back as soon as possible. Obviously just a very bad injury, but better than it could be, just a few broken bones. Then up was Jacob Hurtubise and Lyon Richardson. Lyon Richardson, I'm excited for to take Zuleta's spot. He did really well. I think the Reds are rewarding him. David, he's a guy who is going to be on that train up back and forth to AAA. So don't get too excited about him or worried that for the next 3 games. And also Jacob Hurtubise. I'm not going to get too fired up about this at all. I know X has been burning down this afternoon since it was announced. If he's going down for Hayes, we all got upset when they brought Benson up for a few days and Marte and then sat him. So I don't really see the big deal. Let Reese Hines continue to hit. And really, I think Hines will take over for Fraley and Friedel. But since David's here, everyone, what we're going to do is we're going to really make this a Braves-centric show and try to get some more information about the Braves, who the Reds will face tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. So, David, if you didn't know, the Reds have not done well at all against left-handed pitchers. In fact, a lot of things here we know as Reds fans that it's going to continue to it's going to continue to be a loss. Any left-hander, we just know it's loss. So tonight's Chris Sale. My confidence is not high. And as you know, I like to be pretty optimistic. So give us a rundown on Sale for tonight. What you've seen this year so far from Chris Sale, the reigning Cy Young winner.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Chris Sale, reigning Cy Young winner, Triple Crown, got the T-shirt and everything for that. Made sure to swag out for Chris Sale. But this year he has not been Cy Young shape worthy. That's for certain. He started off the season as our opener against the Padres and got shelled, and then the Dodgers game, not too great after that. But really turned the game around when he faced the Diamondbacks in Arizona. That was his first win of the season. He was 0-3 before that. Then he had a really great outing against the Rockies and couldn't get the win because our offense couldn't click. His last outing, 10 Ks, 7 innings, really good baseball, and just couldn't get the win because our offense wasn't clicking. His velo has been down, but he did mention on the Mookie Betts podcast that he's not throwing his hardest every single pitch. He's trying to stay healthy. He doesn't want to get injured, and I do respect that. I think Chris Sale knows his injury limit, and I want to see him stay healthy for another season.
And what a great trade for the Braves. Obviously the Cy Young winner, but just always add in a solid starter. I will say, even with kind of selling them maybe a tad short, you're not selling me on the Reds winning today. Just the lefties, it's been the kryptonite for the Reds. So we'll see. Now in Reds country, our president of baseball operations, his name's Nick Kroll. If you didn't know, David, when a good trade happens, and the Reds are on top, we call it getting crawled. So we would say that the Dodgers got crawled for giving us Gavin Lux. And maybe even the Blue Jays got crawled for giving us Santiago Espinal. Would you say that the Red Sox got Anthopoulos for the Sale trade?
I would probably not say it as using Anthopoulos' name as a verb there, but I will say they did get the short end of the stick on that trade. They basically paid us to take care of Chris Sale.
I mean, anytime that can happen, that's great. So while we're on pitching, let's talk about the next couple starters. If I believe that's correct, that would be Grant Holmes and Spencer Schwellenbach. Let's start with Holmes for tomorrow. What's your thoughts on him? How's he been doing this year?
Holmes has looked really well. His last start against the Dodgers on Friday night, that game ended in a loss. Obviously, we lost 2-1. But first inning, struck out the side, I believe, on Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. So that was a really good opener. I've doubted Grant Holmes in the past, and I'm starting to look past it because he has looked amazing so far this season. I really like Grant Holmes. Unfortunately, not a lefty, so not the Reds' kryptonite, but I think he can go out and provide a good, strong few innings.
So maybe the Reds have a chance tomorrow. That's good to hear.
Potentially.
After we go through this, I'll run through maybe what I think the Reds have a shot tonight to get back to tonight's game. But let's hear about Schwellenbach. He's been the Braves' ace this year so far, right?
Yeah. Spencer Schwellenbach came off a great season last year. Was really surprised considering he was a shortstop in college.
Really? Now, so the Braves drafted him as a shortstop, or they drafted him as a starting pitcher?
Drafted him as a shortstop, got him into the minor leagues, and said, let's convert him to a pitcher.
And so high pick or a lower pick? I've never heard.
Lower pick. Round two pick.
Wow. So they used that. Yeah. They changed him that quick turnaround. That's interesting.
Yep.
I'm going to have to do some more research for him, but that's a good nugget for our team on Thursday night to review Schwellenbach. So let me talk a little about tonight. Obviously, I was chatting with you prior to us going live. It's somewhat of a broken record. Friedel is off to a somewhat good start. Matt McClain has been very cold since he came back from the IL, an earlier leg injury. And then Elly has just been solid, but not like, Superman, which we really need him to be Superman. And it's somewhat unfair to put him in that spot. Tyler Stevenson's been solid since returning to the IL. And then everyone's favorite player right now is Espinal. I'd like to see tonight one of our right-handers, Marte, kind of get back to a couple solid hits for a week or so. Him and Spencer Steer were pretty hot, both right-handers, and Steer's known to be a lefty masher. But if Marte can get a couple solid hits again tonight, I will feel more confident that he's back to where he was the last couple weeks. The Reds are really counting on him to get back, David, so that the offense continues to rock, or can start rocking again. Excuse me. We've been cold the last few games. But if they can't, it's just been strikeout. But for the post-game show last night, Nick Kirby did mention that we did have 10 hard hit balls last night. And And I don't know, what are your thoughts and for your Braves as well? When they're kind of cold that night, what's your thoughts on these guys getting hard hit balls, but they just happen to be in the fielder's glove? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw a couple of the hard hit balls last night. Those couple of flyouts that they had to deep left center. Truist Park is sometimes a hitter's park, sometimes it's not. It really depends on what the wind is looking like and day versus night. So those hits were earlier in the game. Sun was still out. It was a little warmer. Ball should have been flying.
Okay.
But the hard hit is good. But obviously it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Reds a couple weeks ago scored 24 on Easter Sunday, and then, turn around and they can't really win 2 games can't win 2 games in Miami. So it just is what it is. I saw it in the chat. Mr. E mentions a former Red, Stuart Fairchild. Everyone had a love-hate affair with Stuart Fairchild last year. What's Braves country say about old Stu?
Stuart Fairchild was a nice little trade piece when Richardson Profar decided to leave the team for a little while. He hasn't played in too many games, so I believe he's not batting or doing stuff like that. So I have seen him come in as a pinch runner.
Okay.
So he's been the guy stealing bases and stuff like that. But other than that, he hasn't really been in the starting lineup.
And speaking of guys like Stuart Fairchild, who are a couple guys that have just, we know, us Reds fans, we know, obviously he's out, but we know Acuna, we know Olsen, we know Albies. Austin Riley is really the guy who I fear the most. And then, local product, Sean Murphy. Who are a couple guys who have kind of came out of nowhere for the Braves this year that we should really know about?
So on the pitching side, we already mentioned Grant Holmes really came out of nowhere, and AJ Smith-Shawver too. Those guys have been in the system for a little bit of a while. But this year for us, it's really been the production of Eli White and Nick Allen. Both of them are producing a really high level. Nick Allen more on the defensive side, Eli White more on the offensive side. But both have been in the starting lineup competing for that left field and that shortstop spot.
So Nick Allen, he took over for Arcia and is playing short. You guys acquired him from the Athletics. Where does Eli White come from?
Eli White was a Ranger for a little bit of a while, and then a couple years ago we acquired him. I don't remember if it was via trade or if it was free agency, but he's been in our system, moving up and down, been a bench piece for a little bit of a while. He was typically just our pinch runner in the ninth when you stolen base, stuff like that. So his hitting this year has been elite. I would say he's been filling in while Acuna has been out. So that right field / left field spot is kind of where he's been at.
So when Acuna, he'll be back. Obviously not during the Red series, but when does Acuna come back?
They haven't announced a timetable for him. Recently, though, they said he does not have to go back to Los Angeles and get his knee checked out again. So it looks like he should get a rehab assignment here within the next 2 weeks. And then we'll see him hopefully before the end of May.
Now, out of curiosity, obviously Marcell Ozuna is one of the Braves' top bats they have. Is there any thought of putting Acuna at DH at all, just due to some of his injuries, or is it there's really no place for him? He's got to play outfield.
Currently, I would say let Acuna play outfield. He's really strengthening up his knee, and they just want him to come back as healthy as possible. They don't want to see him get injured for a third time. That would stink.
Yep.
But I would prefer to see Acuna in the outfield. Ozuna is a great DH. He doesn't really have the defensive capabilities. Everybody's seen the clip of him jumping on the wall and missing the fly ball when he was back with the Cardinals. So that's the old Ozuna. We don't really like to start him on defense.
Absolutely.
I'd say this is Ozuna's last year on contract. Let him play DH.
Yeah, when the Braves started out slow, I was actually targeting Ozuna to come to the Reds. So maybe if the Reds can figure it out and the Braves, decide to sell I'm still Team Ozuna coming to the Reds to fill the DH void. We'll figure out something. Honestly, I was at the point, David, a few weeks ago where it's like, okay, when we bring these players in or call them up, the Reds have a few guys in the minors who could call up. We could call up. Well, who do you replace? I'm at the point where some of these guys, they just got to, show up and show out or ship out, because you can't really rely on, Blake Dunn if he's not hitting well. Jake Fraley, I'm totally out on. And even Spencer Steer, he's not proving that he's an everyday player. Now, he's done well the last few weeks. And everyone up here knows how crazy it was for him to even start the year on opening day, start with the Reds. He had a shoulder problem. So he just started off so slow. If anyone has any questions in the chat, feel free to send them over. It looks like we got quite a few here today between Twitter and YouTube. If not, I want to talk about, like I said, there's not much to talk about tonight. Either the Reds are going to hit or they're not. And we've beat the horse to death. I'm pulling so hard for McLean, Elly, and the rest of the squad. But there's really just not much else to say. Like, honestly, after last night, I was like, I have to do this all over again. It's going to be a long night. I can only imagine what Trace and Nick think when they do it, 4 or 5 times a week. So let's talk about the Speedway series a little bit. Are you excited about it? What's your thoughts? A little gimmicky? Do you think this is as cool as, Field of Dreams? What's your thoughts?
In terms of ranking it with like Field of Dreams and the Rickwood Classic, I'm not completely sold on it yet. I've looked at tickets. They're way too expensive. I've looked at the seating chart. It looks like you're going to be too far away from the action because you have an entire racetrack in between you. Then they announced the concert that comes along with it, and I saw like where the stage is set up and where the field is supposed to look, and I was like, I don't know if I'm too sold on it yet. I'll have to see how it works in action, but I am definitely excited to see how it works.
Yeah, and I enjoy racing. I don't know if you like. I do enjoy NASCAR, especially some of these short tracks. So it was kind of a match for me. I was like, oh, this will be cool. I'd really like to do it. I kind of similar. I know you and I exchanged text long ago when it was announced. The tickets are just too expensive. Now it's going to be one of those like, hey, I was there. It happened. So, is it worth the $80? Honestly, probably.
Probably.
I think it's about 5 hours away from where I live in, Southwest Ohio. So I think if it was like 3.5, I think I'd be in. Try to make it, down and back in the same day, or not really have to spend money on a hotel. The other thing though is some of these they're just made for TV. In the past, the Rickwood Classic and the Field of Dreams, when the Reds played in that, the tickets, they didn't have many. So it was just all about the TV and really, the show. I have a feeling it's going to be the same, but they have over 100,000 seats available. I think just the view is just going to be terrible. And some of these seats, even way up high in Great American Ballpark, it just, you can barely see them anyway. I can't imagine being that far away at Bristol Motor Speedway. So it's going to be an exciting time, though. I don't know. I mentioned it last night on the show, but I do know that the Braves are giving away a car, I think, this week. I'm not sure how much you're into collecting like the giveaways. The Reds are giving away a bobblehead in a few weeks that I will be acquiring. So is the Braves doing anything else to kind of, promote it? Do you know?
The Braves are giving away the car tonight, I believe. But other than that, I don't think they're doing much. I thought there would be a bigger giveaway for it, but I think it's just the car.
Now, Matthew puts in that he's going to be in attendance for the Speedway Series. Looking forward to it. Matthew, put in the chat where you're sitting at. I'd be interested to know what part of the stadium you're at. All right. Well, we have a few more minutes, and, I think it's been great having, the opposition's viewpoint on this stream, on this pregame show. Gave us a little rundown on what Chris Sale is going to do tonight. beat the Reds because the Reds can't hit a lefty if they fell out of a boat. You can tell, David, I know you're laughing. I'm just down the dumps about lefties. It was so bad. It's been so bad with lefties, David. Don't laugh. That it's a couple years ago, the opposite, like I forget who it was. I swear it was like the Cardinals or something. They rearranged their rotation to face, so like 3 lefties face the Reds. Like it's
Wow.
it's been that bad. And our numbers without Austin Hayes are just dreadful. But I'm interested tonight to kind of piggyback off, one of our co-hosts on the pregame show, Mike Hart, provided the idea, and then Nick and Trace ran with it last night. Who are a few of your favorite Reds and Braves over the course of the years? And then I'll share mine. And if everyone has any in the chat, feel free to light us up. We want to see some of your favorite Reds and Braves.
Do you want me to go first? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So obviously I'm a younger generation, so I've watched a couple people go between Cincinnati and Atlanta. I'd say number 1 got to be Adam Duvall. That man's a World Series champ. I'll never forget his grand slam in a losing game in the World Series. It was just an incredible experience having him on the team multiple times, actually. Number 2, Raisa Iglesias comes to mind. Been a good closer for the past couple seasons. A little bit of iffy issues this season, but I'm sure he'll work through that. Let's see. Brandon Phillips is another name that comes to mind. Longtime Red.
Absolutely.
Came to Atlanta for a season. I really liked watching him with the Reds, and then when he came to Atlanta, I was like, future second baseman. And then he stayed for 1 year, and obviously that didn't actually happen. Matt Whistler makes my list. I really liked Matt Whistler. I have a signed Matt Whistler hat over here. I really liked him on the Braves. And then
Matt Whistler, part of the Adam Duvall trade.
Yes. Yeah, we got Adam Duvall, Matt Whistler, swap. Enjoyed that trade, both ends, clearly. And then my 5th guy, I'm going to go with Preston Tucker. I enjoyed watching Preston Tucker for the couple of series that he was in the MLB for. And that's mostly because I used to watch him when he played in Florida.
Oh, great. You kind of took a couple of mine, but I'll share mine. So Brandon Phillips, number 1. One of my favorite Reds back in my teenage years in the 2010s. Johnny Gomes, another guy from those teams, played a year with Atlanta.
Yeah.
Just love, I wish the Reds had a Johnny Gomes right now. And maybe they do with Austin Hayes, but just a guy who's like just a culture guy. When I was real young, 04, 05, 06, it seemed like every game that my family and I went to, Aaron Harang was pitching. Aaron Harang's one of those guys who people forget just being a great Red. Led the league in strikeouts 1 year, just a fantastic career. And then same era, Kent Merker. And we just found this out talking about Smith Shawver, getting close to the no-hitter last night. The last Braves no-hitter was Kent Merker in 1994, which is a wild thought. And then
it's been a long time.
Lastly, for my list would be, I've always really liked him since his Florida Marlin days. Alex Gonzalez is one of my favorite. I always just thought he was a good player. So, David, any final remarks? Any other thoughts for tonight's game? Someone you're looking to break out tonight? Or, who do you think the big hit's going to come from the Braves?
Tonight, I'm really hoping, obviously, it's less of a chance because Andrew Abbott, a lefty, is on the mound. But I want to see Matt Olson get something going tonight. He is like top 10 in the league in exit velocity, but he is not getting the ball out of the ballpark. And it's super unlucky for him.
Wow. That usually you don't hear that his exit velocity is not, top 10, but not getting the ball out of the ballpark. Is it before I go with mine, is it the outfield wall there in the chop house area, or what's the, is it his, What's the deal?
He's getting unlucky. He's hitting those like line outs to the right fielder. I mean, he had a really hard hit ball the other night against the Dodgers, and it ended up as a ground out to second base. I mean, it bounced off the first baseman's glove to the second baseman. The second baseman got it to the pitcher quick enough. It was just he's been really unlucky.
Yeah. And the Reds have been that way, it seems, as well. The guy I'm looking forward to, I've already mentioned him. I'm really hoping for a big Marte game today. One of those, Jorge Soler type bombs to the bullpen in the left field corner would be fantastic. Middle in from Sale, those are going over the wall for Marte. We need to get him back on track. But the other guy, it's easy to say the superstar, but having Elly De La Cruz get just a few more hits. He's just been hitting singles, David, for the last week plus. He hit that homer on Sunday, the foul homer. I know you texted me so excited that he hit a home run, then I had to tell you that he didn't. Your fantasy
I was
football,
very upset.
Your fantasy baseball app lied to you. So, well, anyway, appreciate you jumping on. I wish the Reds played the Braves more. You could, join in and give us a rundown. But thanks for the rundown on the pitching staff. Thanks for the little tidbits and maybe your breakout star. We hope not, certified Reds killer Matt Olson tonight.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good rest of the series.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, David. And we'll give you a Go Reds.